Hey there, history buffs and curious minds. Ancient Egypt, land of the pharaohs, mummies, and some seriously over-the-top architecture. Ever wondered how they built the pyramids without cranes? Or why they were so obsessed with wrapping people up like burritos? Stick around because today we're diving into the secrets of ancient Egypt, but don't worry, I'll keep it light. Let's start with a fun fact. Ancient Egypt had everything. Science, art, architecture, medicine, and probably the first recorded office drama, thanks to their obsession with bureaucracy. They invented paper, makeup, toothpaste, and even alarm clocks. Okay, the alarm clock was just a servant shaking you awake, but hey, it worked. And don't even get me started on their farming skills. The Nile River was basically their personal Amazon Prime, delivering water, fish, and fertile soil every year. Forget 2-day shipping, these guys had an entire season for free delivery. They grew enough grain to feed their massive population and had a surplus to trade with other civilizations. Speaking of trade, let's talk fashion. Egyptians were all about linen clothing, which, let's be honest, is basically the ancient equivalent of athleisure wear. Comfortable and stylish, they were way ahead of their time. And if you think about it, this agricultural abundance played a huge role in their cultural and technological advancements. I mean, when you've got your basic needs covered, you have the time and resources to explore other pursuits. That's how you end up with incredible feats of engineering like the pyramids, intricate hieroglyphic writing, and even complex mathematical systems. It's like the old saying goes, a well-fed civilization is a productive civilization. Egyptians also knew how to have a good time. They loved their festivals, music, dancing, and of course a bit of drama. So, yeah. Ancient Egypt was a pretty happening place to be, with a vibrant culture that thrived for centuries. Now let's talk about mummies. Why were Egyptians so into preserving dead people? Well, they believed in the afterlife, and apparently, you needed your body intact for the next gig. This wasn't just a quick wrap-and-go situation, though. Mummification was a complex process that took weeks to complete. It was like an elaborate spa day. If spas used embalming fluid, first, they'd remove all the organs, except the heart, because that's where your soul lives. The brain? Gone. Ancient Egyptians thought it was just head filler. Guess they weren't big on neuroscience. They had special tools to remove these organs, and they even had canopic jars with different gods on them to store everything. Talk about organized. Next up, drying out the body. No, they didn't leave it out in the sun. They used a natural salt called natron to absorb all the moisture. This took about 40 days. Imagine the smell. After that, they'd stuff the body with linens and spices to give it back its shape. Think of it as the ancient Egyptian version of a push-up bra. Then, they'd wrap you in linen like a human burrito and stuff you in a sarcophagus, and voila, you're ready for the afterlife. But here's the real kicker. They even mummified animals. Cats, dogs, birds, you name it. The afterlife must have been one big pet party. They believed death was just a transition and they wanted to be prepared. Plus, those mummies provide us with a fascinating glimpse into their beliefs, rituals, and daily lives. So the next time you see a mummy in a museum, remember, it's not just a scary artifact. It's a testament to a civilization's enduring belief in the power of the afterlife. Okay, now let's address the big question. How did they build the pyramids? The truth is, nobody knows exactly how. Theories range from ramps to aliens, yes, aliens. But one thing's for sure, those pyramids weren't built in a day, or by Pharaoh himself. Nope, it was thousands of workers hauling stones under the blazing sun. Think of it as the world's first gym membership, but without the air conditioning. These workers were incredibly skilled, using copper tools and their ingenuity to cut and shape massive blocks of stone. We're talking about stones that weighed tons, people. And they managed to fit them together so precisely that you can't even slip a credit card between them. Try doing that with Legos. The pyramids weren't just giant piles of rocks, they were complex structures with hidden chambers, secret passages, and intricate ventilation systems. Imagine being the guy who drew the blueprints for that. And let's not forget the sheer scale of these monuments. The Great Pyramid of Giza, for example, was the tallest man-made structure for over 3,800 years. And temples? Oh, those were extra. Imagine walking into a room with columns so tall they'd make modern skyscrapers jealous. Egypt's motto, go big or go home. These temples were covered in intricate carvings and hieroglyphs, telling stories of the gods, pharaohs, and everyday life. They were basically ancient Egypt's Instagram feed, but instead of posting selfies, they carved epic tales into stone. These structures weren't just for show, they were symbols of power, religious devotion, and the pharaoh's connection to the gods. Life in ancient Egypt was like a reality show. You had the pharaohs living it up in palaces thinking they were literal gods. They had servants, fancy clothes, and all the bread and beer they could handle. Talk about living the dream, or at least, the ancient Egyptian version of it. Meanwhile, the peasants were out there working 9-to-9 shifts, farming, building, and occasionally being mummified themselves. It wasn't all bad though. They had families, communities, and even some leisure time. They played board games, enjoyed music, and even had festivals dedicated to their gods. And let's not forget the slaves, often prisoners of war, who got the worst deal of all. No vacation days, no benefits, just endless labor. They were used for the most difficult and dangerous tasks, and their lives were often harsh and short. But here's the twist. Archaeologists believe pyramid workers were often paid in beer and bread. That's right, carbs and booze kept this civilization running. They even had their own hierarchy and specialized roles, kind of like ancient Egyptian labor unions. And while it wasn't exactly a glamorous job, it was a way to provide for their families and contribute to these monumental projects. So, while life in ancient Egypt definitely had its share of inequality, it wasn't as black and white as we might think. There were complexities, nuances, and even some surprising perks to being a worker in this ancient civilization. Pharaohs loved power almost as much as they loved eyeliner, but ruling wasn't all hieroglyphs and gold. There were plenty of family feuds, assassinations, and betrayals. Imagine the drama unfolding in those opulent palaces. It was like Game of Thrones, but with fewer dragons and more sand. One pharaoh, Hatshepsut, even disguised herself as a man to rule. Talk about breaking the glass ceiling, or sandstone in this case. She knew that as a woman, her claim to the throne wouldn't be easily accepted, so she adopted a male persona, even wearing a fake beard. And guess what? It worked. She ruled for over 20 years and is considered one of Egypt's most successful pharaohs. And then there's Cleopatra, who mastered the art of diplomacy and drama, charming both Julius Caesar and Mark Antony. She wasn't just a pretty face though. Cleopatra was intelligent, politically savvy, and a shrewd negotiator. She knew how to play the game of power, and she played it well. But power struggles weren't limited to the royal family. There were also conflicts between the pharaohs and the priests, who held considerable influence and sometimes challenged the ruler's authority. It was a constant balancing act, with each side vying for control and influence. These power struggles weren't always pretty, but they shaped the course of Egyptian history.
First of all, what went through my mind is how stupid am I to actually...
From incredible architecture to mummification mysteries and all the drama in between, ancient Egypt was basically history's most extra civilization. Which part blew your mind the most? Let me know in the comments. And hey, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to our channel and hit that bell icon, because we're bringing you more ancient secrets and modern laughs every week.